Brunch culture.
We want to talk about faith. We want to talk about politics. We want to talk about race. We want to talk about pop culture. Literally, everything is up for discussion, and that's what brunch culture is about.
It's about a thing. Feel real good. Wave your hands in the air and lick 2 shots in the air.
Brunch culture. Brunch culture. Brunch culture. Brunch culture.
She goes by the name of Lisa V.
And he goes by the name of Randall Keith.
And you are tuned into Brunch Culture, the millennial podcast where everything is up for discussion.
I mean, everything, especially in Mimosas and OJ. We talk about everything because it's some really interesting things going on in the world.
Very, very interesting things going on.
People getting flued out. You know, it's my favorite word.
People getting flued out.
That's near and dear to my heart. It came from Young Miami. Shout out to Young Miami. I don't know anything she sings, but I do, and I don't think it's singing. I think it's rap. But I do know her.
I was just going to say, you sound real. Oh, I don't know anything she's saying.
I know she's in City Girls talker. And her friend is in jail. Oh, well, see, that's how much I do not know about what's happening. She's out. But Jocelyn Savage, who, you know, it's not a laughing matter. She was a victim of R. Kelly, has now said, confessed to the world that she was a victim, even though we already knew that. She was saying she was. Are you laughing?
I'm sorry. Yeah,
what was funny? I was really trying to report it like a news story.
I know. That's why I wasn't trying to laugh. I'm sorry. I just keep thinking about this. I just want her to get with a writer or editor, a journalist. Go ahead.
She wrote a post announcing how she was letting the world know on Instagram, because Instagram is the official press release spot.
Right, for everything.
Yes. With a few chapters letting us know.
These are not chapters. These are a string of what should have been social media posts. Not even Instagram, but these should have been Facebook posts.
About how, you know, R. Kelly was abusing her. And at one particular point, the part that stuck out to me most, I wouldn't have seen it if you hadn't circled it. That really, it like my eyes just went to it. And I said, you know what? You my type of sister.
No.
When you say flew down.
No, she can't be your type of sister.
That flew out. I still got to get the shirt that say that.
It's disturbing, yo. It's like disturbing. Like, what did she say? In 2015, I got flued out to his concert. Wait.
As you're talking, I'm Googling flued out because I'm about to buy a t-shirt, hoodie, and wear it to the airport.
No. So this situation and this young lady, and I feel bad for laughing because her story, what she went through is not a laughing matter. I'm not laughing at that, but I just struggle with so she's writing these chapters to tell her story, and I just don't know that so it's 2019. Here we go. It's 2019, and we have all of our iOS does autocorrect for spelling. Word does grammar make corrections. They have Grammarly, and I'm quite sure she can find a journalist that she can pay to make these words make sense. It just disturbs me because it's the stuff that you're saying. I don't know.
I found it, Randall. I'm about to get ahead of the grade. He got a little airplane on it and everything.
23 years old was a breaking point for me. I was forced to do a lot of things. What did you just say?
Listen, I cannot. I'm not supposed to be laughing at this.
what did you just say? And the problem really is, and this is, I know my problem is, so a primary part of my daytime job is language, editing language, reading language, communicating things. So there's an extra layer of like, I don't know what you're saying, yo. I have no idea what you're saying. And I want to know what you're saying. I think that's the thing. The thing with this whole thing is like, I want to hear her side. I want to respect it. But it's like, mama, it's some journalists out there that will pay you to get the exclusive. Just let them write it. I don't know what you're saying. This doesn't, and even people being like, oh, it's not fair. You know, you can't, because I sent this actually to a couple of my friends. One of my friends was like, that's really insensitive given all that she went through. You know, she's not educated. And it's like, they taught this in high school. She graduated high school. Like, she got this. This is why I don't understand why we're not like, yeah, we gotta, come on, man.
Maybe she's talking in like shorthand format.
What does that even mean?
I don't know.
She's putting out chapters. She's calling them chapters. Like, all right. But yeah, you know what? Keep doing, because if nothing else, it gives, it's like a puzzle. Like, you kind of got to think through what she was saying.
It's like an Android text message.
You remember when they perfect. That is the perfect example of what it is. When I don't think they do it as much now, but I don't text people. I don't text a lot of people with Androids, and I know this is gonna sound real crazy, but I just don't. But remember, they used to have like the long messages, and it'll be like a long message, but you'll get them in like different parts, and it never made sense. Yeah, that's what.
So my friend, you know Dion, he sent me a long text, and I'm like, bro, you gonna have to email it to me if it's long, because I literally got to put the pieces together. Like 5 comes at first, and then it's like 5 of 5.
And you got to play this game of trying to make it make sense, because all the time it won't make sense. So you'll get like the end or the middle, then the end, then the beginning, and it's like, okay, so this should have went here. Okay, so it makes sense for this word to follow, or does it make sense to this word? Just no. Shoot me an email or put it in the DMs. It's really sad though when like Facebook Messenger can get this whole thing right, and like y'all phones still can't. Like, I just don't, you know. But it's a whole other subject. Off my soapbox. What else we got on it? Most of that OG.
Well, Omarion has topped Petty for the year. I think he's made it. And I don't think that like at first when he did the Vlad interview, and if y'all don't know, Omarion's baby's mother, who's the mother of his 2 children, is now dating Little Fizz. Soda Pop. Fizz Pop, Fizzle, Pop Fizzle, or something.
I was lost for a second, but Fizzle, okay. Is that where his name comes from?
No, it's that somebody called him Fizzle Pop. Oh. And J Boog repeated it when he was doing the live.
Wait, so are they all not friends? What?
I don't know what's going on with their relationship. I don't know. They kind of struggling, but anyway, so Vlad TV does the interview. This was the first time he spoke on it, and they asked him, what do you think about April and Fizz's relationship? He said, I don't feel no ways. I don't feel any ways about it. I think they should change the narrative. But I don't feel no ways as long as they're happy.
That's mature.
Yeah.
Very mature. Okay.
Yeah, it seems so unbothered. So, like, all last week, everybody was like, I want to be as unbothered as Omarion. So, we thinking nobody cares.
Right.
This today is Little Fizz's birthday.
Okay.
Omarion, you know, they had the whole tour, the Millennial Tour, with B2K and Ying Yang Twins and Pretty Ricky. And Pretty Ricky name is always funny. This is our track because it's for them, and it's Pretty Ricky is a name one person, but whatever.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead. So yeah. So Omarion drops that the tour is coming back, but it's coming back with him as a headliner and no B2K on Fizz's birthday. So it's the ultimate payback and revenge. it's petty. It's petty, but it's smart, and he still kept it classy.
With his paycheck, and his homeboy ain't got the paycheck. But weren't they having like other issues on this thing? Like I heard that people were like fighting and
well, Raz B, because Raz B, did you know the people in the group?
I know their faces. I don't know who. I don't know the name to the face, but I know the faces.
Okay, so Raz B said that Chris Stokes raped him.
I do remember that, but wait.
And all of them said it wasn't true.
Right, but
he was trying to allude to the fact that Chris Stokes was messing with all of them and some of the immature.
But Chris Stokes is his cousin, right?
I think he's supposed to be like related to Omarion or something.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was listening to another podcast or something like that, and they said something about those two being family, and I was like, wait, I'm confused.
Now they could. I don't know, but I know there was some stuff around Raz B getting mad because he felt like nobody was taking up for him, and yeah. So I know that was that tension. So then he had an outburst, and because he deals with alcohol abuse and all that, so he had outbursts during the tour and wasn't showing up like he's supposed to. Then I guess Fizz and Omarion had tension because of the girl. And I think J Boog was just kind of not really in it.
Just trying to get a check, huh?
Yeah, because he like, you 90%, 99% of the reason we ain't got this check no more. But you know what I'm saying? He like, he makes special appearances on Love and Hip Hop, but he not really regular. So I think he probably just getting a little, he need the money.
But Buddy is like, I'm just trying to get a check. Like, can y'all just figure this out?
And he was my favorite one. J Boog was my favorite one.
Yeah, well, I guess Omarion has the last laugh, right?
Well, you know what made me laugh? Orlando Brown.
Let's play it.
Okay. I think it's for everybody to listen.
What is happening?
The video is even more funny.
You hear that run at it? What is this? And like the tiger is literally hitting him like, shut up.
And he was standing on top of that white Jesus in the video. So y'all, apparently Orlando Brown just dropped another single. Apparently he's a musical artist. Shout out to him. But it's just a weird situation. He looks crazy. Like he looks like he's on a substance. And you said what?
I just don't. I don't get it. I don't. And a part of me, like, I feel bad for laughing at Buddy, but like, this is funny, yo. It is just outright funny.
If you seen his Dr. Phil interview, you gotta go watch that. That was hilarious. He is very interesting young man.
I just don't. Yeah.
Apparently he was in love with Raven-Symoné.
I think the last video that I saw of him was when he said something about slop bop and blah 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 blah. And he's talking about Raven-Symoné. He was like, and she blah 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 blah, and I blah 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 blah. Like, what? What is this, dude? And then I feel bad because one of my friends was like, yo, he's like really on something and you shouldn't laugh at it. And I tried for the longest time not to, but this video, you have to, yo. Yeah, like you have to. You absolutely have to.
He got standing on top of white Jesus. He got that tiger. My friend said if that tiger had ate him, that would have been a mess.
No, because you saw the tiger at one point in time is literally like kind of swiping at him like, yo, shut up. Like,
I don't know how he got the money for that though. I really don't, because I feel like he was at a lot of locations, and I was trying to figure out how he got on top of Jesus. It was just a lot.
Well, That's So Raven is it's like
syndicated.
Yeah, it's like syndicated. So they play it a lot on Disney Channel, and it's like maybe I'm sure he gets like checks from that. So maybe that's it. And he's played in other things, so I don't know. Maybe he's getting money from. He got to be getting money from somewhere though, because he clearly has like a habit of something that got him like not there. Because yeah, I don't know. This ain't it. Orlando, This is not it, friend. This ain't it, man.
Everybody coming to America.
Oh yeah. What? Like, yeah. I'm good.
Everybody coming to America.
A completely other note. Have you seen these memes about I'm gonna tell my kids?
Yeah. So when did that start?
I don't know, but I love them. I've been seeing. I saw the one with. I reposted. It was the one with Destiny's Child that said, "I'm gonna tell this." It was like their album cover. It says, "I'm gonna tell my kids this is Mount Rushmore."
Oh yeah. Speaking of Destiny's Child, you saw Kelly with Tim and Titan.
Yeah, it was a great photo. Yeah. I love when they post photos.
Yeah, because that's her real husband.
He's a great friend to the family. I love it.
I just wanted you to know.
Why you always? I mean, I'm secure in my relationship. I have no.
It's just every time you say Destiny's Child, I just feel like I gotta reiterate.
I mean, if it helps you feel better to mention that we have a great friend of the family, I'm not intimidated by it. It's wonderful. Shout out to Kelly Rowland. She has a film coming out on November 30th. It's going to be awesome. It's a holiday film. Very Little Christmas. Liddle.
On Lifetime.
On Lifetime, yeah. Thank you. See? You already know.
I know. I'll support Kelly, also in her marriage to Tim as well. But yeah, I have seen those.
I don't know why you do. I don't know why you do this. I'm secure. This is what you call somebody that's secure in their relationship. So,
I think it's hilarious. That's why I do it. It is absolutely hilarious to me, and that's why I was sharing. But any other ones you want to share about how?
Well, that was my favorite one because I love them. There's been a couple of. I've actually been enjoying this and the little cat. I still enjoy the cat.
Yeah, that cat is amazing.
The cat is I'm definitely enjoying the cat.
Yeah, that cat is amazing. But y'all tell us what y'all think. #ChatBC, and we'll be back with our main dish.
All right, we are back, and it is time to get into our main dish. Our main dish for this week is surrounding triggers. We want to talk about triggers. What are they? The things that kind of trigger us from past experiences that we've had, and particularly we want to talk about this in light of the upcoming holiday. So Thanksgiving is soon. As we record this, we're about 2 days away from Thanksgiving, so we are going to all be preparing to go back home or be home or be around family and engage people that we at this space and time in our lives, we don't necessarily always have to engage. So one of the things that's beautiful about becoming an adult is you get to kind of choose the people that you bring into your life, the people that you're around and you surround yourselves with. And the holidays is kind of those, particularly I feel like Thanksgiving, it is one of those times where you kind of almost lose that option. Simply because you want to be around your family, and when you're around your family, the extended family come around, those people that, they're your family members you love, but they're a bit toxic and you kind of keep your distance. They are obviously showing up and around. So we have to engage those people. And sometimes being in those spaces can be triggering. Having to engage with those people can be triggering. Having those people, although you haven't seen them in a year, probably since the last Thanksgiving, not much has changed. And they are doing the same thing that they were doing before that bothered you and annoyed you. So their actions and behaviors, and in many cases comments, create triggers for us. And so we just kind of want to have a discussion about what that is. This was led by, we got to this point from a quote that said, avoiding your triggers isn't healing. Healing happens when you're triggered and you're able to move through the pain, the pattern, and the story and walk your way to different ending. Yeah.
That quote triggered me.
Right, because it makes you realize how you know you aren't in this space. Because I know for myself, certain things that trigger me, especially when it comes to like, family members or like family situations, those things that kind of cut a little deeper or hit a little differently. I am notorious for kind of creating a space where those people in those spaces aren't a normal part of my life. And so oftentimes I will talk to them by way of my mom, or I'll talk to them by way of some other family member that I'm cool with. And I'll be like, oh, tell them I said hi, and just kind of leave it at that, as opposed to having to, engage in that, because I know me, I wasn't really the person for it when I was a kid, but as an adult that completely takes care of themselves, I'm really not for it. So it definitely reminds me of that. Like, this is a sign that I'm probably not completely over this and can be untriggered, because,
Yeah, this is a timely thing for me, because as I was telling you, there was a particular situation that was triggering to me this past weekend. And I thought to myself, like, I have to get better with dealing with triggers, because I don't want it to choke out the exciting times in my life.
Right.
I think that the thing about triggers and how God orchestrates our lives, he orchestrates our lives for healing. Mm-hmm. And so I think sometimes he allows things to happen to us so we can deal with things that we rather not deal with. For myself personally, that's been my experience.
Right.
So it's like, avoidance. I'm avoiding it because I got so much to do. And then I got so much to do to build up to this great moment. It comes and then bam, triggered out of left field. And then it's like, it's sucking up the oxygen in the room, so you can't enjoy the high moment that it's supposed to be. And so I think for the last 6 months, I've been trying to avoid certain triggers because I just didn't want to deal with it. And so when I saw this quote, I was just like, dang. Yeah. This quote coupled with that experience, it's like, man, I probably need to deal with that, because I do think this social media culture and memes, because, we live in a meme culture where we like, oh, cool. Right. If you trigger me, I'm going to stay away from you.
Right.
And there's some truth to that. But if you keep running away from all your triggers, you never get to heal from the trigger.
And you don't grow. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think the thing that's a bit tricky too, and I just kind of want to preface this also talking about, because in thinking about like the holidays, is I think sometimes you have to make sure that you're ready to deal with the triggers.
Yes.
If you're not a person, especially if you're a person listening to this, if you're not ready to deal with the things that triggers, by all means, I mean, it's the holiday. So if it is better for you to kind of avoid a person or situation or an environment that will be triggering in order for you to enjoy, the family that you have, then by all means do that. We're not saying that you gotta like run or choose this time or choose this week to be like, oh, I gotta face all my triggers and I gotta deal with all these things, but more so of just be kind of mindful that those things come, and then kind of analyze it to determine like where you are and where you see fit. Because I know, and actually had this conversation with my therapist recently, like one of the things for me is I will be like, today I'm past a lot of things, and when I say past it, like it's not something that I actively think about, but given a certain situation, given a certain conversation, particularly with the people, those family members that were kind of at the like the reason for, you know, certain experiences or certain emotions to come out, I do get triggered. And the trigger for me becomes like, oh, now I really want to be, I really want to let you know, like, you can't trigger me that way. Right. But I'm saying that, and that is like causing me to kind of like overanalyze and think about it and like really, really give way too much power and energy to a situation that A, might not even happen, or B, like the proof of me really being over it is to kind of work, no matter what that person does, me to kind of maintain my composure. So I think it kind of just like builds up. It makes the situation, at least in my experience, a lot larger than what it is, because I'm thinking about when I was younger and like, oh, I remember, you know, this person called me this, or this person said this about me, or this person treated me this way. And so there's a bit of me that wants to say, like, you don't have me that way. Like, you're not going to do that. But I'll kind of just like overly analyze and like really dive into the situation in the space that's like, you're giving it way too much energy that you shouldn't be giving it. And so I guess from my approach, and I say that to say that my approach during any type, like the holiday season, or particularly when I have to be in these spaces where these things come up, is to recognize that they're there. And then also recognize that certain things will probably trigger me, so I can be kind of prepared for it. So that I don't, you know, come out of character or like just kind of flip out or do something that's real left field, because it's like, well, you kind of prepared and you knew that this would happen or could potentially happen. So like handle it accordingly.
Yeah. For me, I think I've seen my triggers play out in a different relationship. So it's kind of like I'm away from my trigger, but a person does something that triggers me that reminds me of a past trigger. So it's like, oh, you got to heal from this, because you don't want to be punishing present people for past people's missteps.
Right.
And I think I think the most like thing that like struck me in the face when my friend was like, but I'm not them. Like, this action may seem the same, but I'm not them.
It's coming from a different source.
Don't make me pay for that.
Yeah.
So I think that's one of the reasons why we have to engage our triggers, because I think sometimes we run away from triggers, from people that cause the initial trigger, only to meet people that can trigger us in similar ways, not on purpose, but just because you meet people with same personality types, and that personality type reminds you of another personality type. But that doesn't mean, just because they have that personality type doesn't mean they have that character.
Right.
And I think that's the difference.
Yeah. I mean, that's fair, because I am notorious for that. I'm definitely notorious for, you know, meeting a person and kind of engaging with somebody, and I definitely can have moments where I'll kind of like sit back and observe, and I'll say like, hey, I think it's probably best that I don't really engage you, or it's probably best that I kind of keep my distance from, like, you know, trying to forge some sort of relationship with you or some sort of bond, or even if I have a bond, you know, really like keeping you around a lot because you show signs of something else or somebody else or another situation that I'm just like, yeah, that's not going to work. And I recognize, in all honesty, that is not the best way to be. And so I try to work on it. But to be quite honest, it is very, for me, it's like a protective mechanism, and it's just smart, right? Because I don't want to, at some point in time, having the same types of conversations or the same types of issues with people, one can easily say, okay, so what's the common denominator? You? And so I just kind of took it up to like, all right, well, this is your personality. Maybe we just don't, or this type of personality, this type of a person that moves in this way, maybe we just don't really vibe with each other. And I try to just accept that. But the truth of the matter is, I'm essentially trying to just avoid a trigger or potential trigger that may not be there, and therefore I'm missing the opportunity to have like a solid relationship with somebody for that very reason. There's one person in particular I'm actually thinking about that I remember when we first met, I was like, yeah, we probably aren't going to get along. And I has honestly been one of the realest people that I've met since moving. Like, just super consistent. This is who I am. This is my personality, and you got it. And I thought it was going to potentially be a problem. It's like, nah, we thick as thieves. Like, it just works.
Yeah, and I think that's like when you push in and push past that fear, because I mean, all it is like fear, like that you're going to hurt me the way the other person did.
Yeah.
That at the core, that's what it is. Like, I remember having a real conversation with somebody on Sunday, and I was like, you know what? I think honestly, because this reminds me of a situation, I'm scared to death that this is going to be that, and I don't want it. That I don't want anything to do with that. So, at the core, I'm just scared. That's what it is.
Yeah.
I don't know if this fear is false evidence appearing real, or it's wisdom. You know, I'm still got to sort that out. But I can't end up in that again. Yeah. So when it starts to look similar, I'd be like, let me exit stage left. But this might not be that, but I got to process it to make sure I'm looking at this from an objective standpoint, not just fear and trauma. Right.
So it's interesting to that point, though, as you were talking, I was just thinking about it. Like, I wonder if it is it necessary to know that, you know, these things could be triggering? Is the way to get, I guess, to face it or to get through it or to deal with it is to just kind of communicate that this behavior or this personality is triggering and just kind of like state that to the person and then just deal with it from there? Is that because I'm specifically thinking about, so there are certain people, and to be very transparent, well, I don't say very transparent because I ain't really trying to, you know, bag on nobody, but there's certain people in my family that I intentionally do not engage with. And it's very different because I have always been the person, and I still am a believer of that, you know, at the end of the day, we're family and we don't have a choice in it. Right. And so, and I was kind of raised that way. So there's a sense of loyalty that I feel like I have. And so I don't go out of my way to like talk down on these particular people or anything like that. But I just know for me, you know, based on our like historical interactions, based on the way that I see that they move and engage and the things that they do, I just choose. I think it's better for me to just kind of stay away from it. So I kind of do. But I guess I'm thinking now, because I know that behavior is them and that behavior is there. If I know that this is going to be a trigger, is the way to properly address that is to just say something to them. And I'm asking the question, literally telling myself that the answer is no because it's a waste of my time. But I guess that's just kind of leading along the same things of like avoiding the trigger. What you think?
Well, I do think it takes a certain level of maturity from the other person to hear that they are a trigger, not to feel like their character is attacked. Because that's what I think the difference is. So we have to gauge, I think, whether people are mature enough to handle that they are triggered because they feel like you're attacking their character, because they're going to be like, oh, I'm not that. And it's like, no, I'm not saying you're that. I'm saying this behavior reminds me of a past feeling that I'm scared to death of feeling again, and I don't want to go back to that. But everybody's not mature enough to handle that because they might feel like they're under attack. So the honesty is tricky because you got to gauge whether the person is mature enough to hear that without feeling like you're attacking their identity.
Yeah, so basically what you just told me is that it's a waste of my time because it's not going to work. Yeah.
Because I had a conversation Sunday with a person and I said this, and my friend was like, so you're basically telling me my very existence triggers you. And I was like, no, that's not what I'm saying.
Yikes.
I'm not saying that. She's like, there's so much about me that reminds you of another person that it's just triggering to be around me. And I said, I don't think that's the case. I think that there's just certain things that it's just, I have to make sure I separate in my mind. And like, once we talked through it, it was better. But at the same time, the initial response was that I'm attacking you. You as a whole are the problem when you didn't really do anything to me. And so I do think we have to be careful when we're saying this stuff because it could be problematic with people.
Yeah, I mean that's fair too. I think kind of going back, and I kind of laughed at it, but I think it is very true. I think it's true to be mindful of how taking that information to anybody, anything. If you take anything to someone that is not what they believe about themselves or what they want to hear, you know, that could very well be a trigger for them. And so it's something that you have to handle with care. I think, though, it's probably best to kind of answer my own question or go back to that. The question I pose is that it probably is not, you know, Thanksgiving's probably not the time to do that. Because undoubtedly,
I don't think.
Because and not that I was gonna do it or thought about doing it in public. I mean, in like, you know, in front of everybody. But I guess I was thinking like, well, maybe the way in a spirit of wanting to face my triggers, maybe the way to face my triggers is to have a conversation with that person. But I think maybe during the holidays is probably not the best time to do that, simply because A, I haven't seen you in at least a year, if not more. And B, your intention and goal during this time is to be more chill and have a good time. And so me bringing in something that says you are a trigger is just a recipe for disaster.
But are they the source of the trigger or they're triggering? Because I think it's a different conversation you have to have with the source of a trigger versus somebody that reminds you of a trigger.
I think they might be both.
Because I think if it's a source, like I would say there's probably not a lot that I would share with the source of my trigger because I don't think they're mature enough to address it or take responsibility for the damage.
Yeah.
So that's not even going to be a conversation.
That's
maybe
fair.
Later on in life, maybe. But the people that come along that remind me of the source, that's a conversation I can have with them to help in the healing process. Because I do think present people that may remind you of triggers are people who you can say, this is a person that maybe it will help me to reposition, to help me see relationships differently or help me heal from the trauma. Yeah. Like, I think you have to push into that in the fact that, okay, you trigger me, but I'm not going to let that cause me to abandon the relationship. What I'm going to let it do is help me to face the fact that everybody's not the person that was the source of the trigger.
And that is absolutely, to that point, that's very fair, because I didn't think about it. I didn't think about the differentiation between somebody being the source of it or just kind of being like a reminder of. Because obviously the difference would probably, the most obvious difference is the person that is the source is the reason that you have this issue in the first place. And so that's a lot more of a detailed, in-depth conversation that you need to have versus somebody that is just kind of reminding you of that. And because you can really probably isolate a certain behavior or a certain like characteristic as opposed to the whole person versus like, you know, somebody that's the source. You're probably telling them things that are very deep rooted, and the conversation is going to go in a completely different direction that is more about who they are or who they have been rather than who they remind you of. So I didn't even think about differentiating it in that way. I think that definitely that makes a difference in how to approach it. But I mean, I think ultimately I probably am not going to approach it all together, because one thing that I'm very mindful of is certain people, especially people that are older than us. I mean, by right, you've been on the planet for, however many years more than I have. And in many ways, people can get, for the lack of a better term, stuck in their ways and like stuck in who they are and have no desire to kind of change. And I'm definitely thinking the two people that I'm thinking about, that is who they are, where they are. And it's why I just kind of choose to kind of move in a different way, because certain things that they may do, not even to me, honestly, to other people or say to other people, because a lot of the things that I've noticed that are triggers for me, again, particularly with like family members, it's not something that they will do or say to me. It's more of what I will hear them do and say to others that becomes like, because I remember, it's like I remember being on that end of that, or I remember the treatment that came along with this, which was like messed up, and here you are doing it to somebody else. Not obviously not doing it to me, because you know what's good for you, but there's seeing the behavior happen with someone else just bothers me like a lot, and that triggers me a hell of a lot.
Yeah, and I don't think those people are the best to address. But I do think, like, when you talk about older people, I think they're gonna be stuck in their ways, and they don't care if they trigger you or not, because they said what they said.
Yeah, very much so.
But when it's people our age, I do think it's okay to address, but then it's also because they are age. A lot of people our age are wrestling with identity, and so saying that could feel like an attack on personhood if you don't understand what a person is saying. So it's a hard conversation to have. And if I learned anything this weekend, it's that difficult conversations sometimes need to be had at that very present moment. Like they need to happen in a space where you don't have the 2 weeks to debrief. Because I think what was different about the situation I was in this weekend is I was forced to be with the person for the whole time. And I noticed there's a difference between how conflict is resolved when you're forced to be with the person. Like, absolutely. Versus like, oh, okay, we got an argument. I'll call you in 2 weeks and we'll recoup and apologize and try to go over it. Like, because you're processing it and then you're thinking about it, versus if somebody says something that hurt your feelings, you can address it and they can explain what they meant, and you don't have to spend a whole week reading into what they meant as you're processing it.
Yeah. And so I think when you're with a person, though, when it happens when you're with the person, there's more of a pressing reason for you to resolve it, because the person's in your face. And so unless you're completely comfortable with having
silent treatment.
Yeah, silent treatment or just consistent awkward interactions, you have to address it now. You need to address it now, versus being like, okay, well, I mean, I'll just not text you or just not call you and talk to you some other time, and it'll work itself out, or we'll deal with it when we get to it. But when you're in my face, it's like, oh, good morning, let's deal with it.
Yeah, it was so funny because we had a 3-hour car ride from New Jersey to New York, and that I will never. Let me tell you something. I hate New York traffic. It's insane. But at first, I just went quiet.
Train all day.
And so my friend was like, "So you gonna be quiet this whole 3 hours? So we're not gonna talk about this?" And I was like, "Dang,
don't you hate
this not stuck in this car with you."
Right. Turn on the music. I want to hear it.
Okay. So it is. Yeah, it's a very interesting situation. But
yeah, I think in to the point of having this discussion though about triggers, I definitely think it's something to be mindful of, whether you're going to engage a person or not. I think it's important to be mindful of those things that trigger you when they do, and I think it's also important to make sure that you have a person to kind of discuss those triggers with, because it makes it a bit more. It takes a lot of the pressure and the weight off, and I feel like it makes it a bit more easier to, or more easy to, I guess, address head on is what I'm getting at. So I think that if I'm able to tell you what thing triggered me, what behavior triggered me, or what person triggered me, when it does happen, it's almost like not a surprise. So I'm not dealing with the surprise or the frustration of this thing happening. It's just more of like, okay, well, I've kind of talked about this. I've prepared myself for it. I've gotten another opinion. I know that I'm not completely crazy, so I can kind of deal with it. I think that ultimately helps.
Yeah, it does. It's why I gotta be like this though? Why can't it just be easy?
Everybody just act right. We wouldn't have no triggers, right? I just feel like if everybody would just, stop being, I ain't gonna say stop being stupid. Stop being inconsiderate. Consideration goes a long way.
Yeah. And don't let your triggers cause you to act like the person that triggered you in the first place.
This is very true. Especially when you have way more to lose than they do. Although you may be younger, although you may, not have all the things together as if they do, but in many cases, you probably have more things to lose, and so you don't be that.
Don't let them trigger you the way they triggered. I remember the source of my trigger would be silent during times where a conversation needed to be had, and that used to frustrate the heck out of me. And then when I got silent this weekend, I was just like, oh no, I can't be that. Like, because that used to piss me off.
Yeah, I'm becoming who my triggerer was. Yeesh.
I can't do that.
I'm doing what the initial effractor did. Yeesh.
Yeah, I can't be that. So, yeah. So let us know what trigger y'all and how y'all handling it. Because I'm trying to do better.
We need help. Tell me how y'all getting through Thanksgiving. I'm just playing. I'm saying all of this and I'm not going to be with my family for Thanksgiving. That's a whole other topic.
That might trigger you talking about it.
Right. Let's move on. All right. We will be back with our Toaster Rose.
We are back with our toast or roast. Today I want to just toast All American. And I don't know if I've toasted them before, but that show on the CW is amazing. But this last episode was just so powerful and, as some white people say, soul stirring.
Soul stirring. Come on. White terminology.
They say that when they hear Black Choir. That was so soul stirring.
No, I haven't heard that. That's okay.
But yeah. So, but it's such good acting. The characters are so nuanced. It's just really, really good. And I didn't expect to like it because I was just like, oh, this is a show about high school students and football. And it's just so much more than that. And this last episode, I literally cried. And I don't cry at TV. I'm like, why am I crying? And I'm thinking, oh my God, Spencer, are you okay? And I'm like, girl, it's not real. It's not real. But yeah, it definitely sucked me in. And if you could get me to cry off an episode, you did a good job.
Okay.
Because I'm definitely not crying on the Oval or that sister show.
Jeez. You have to do them like that.
it was like, oh man, I was like, such good acting, cinematography. Like, it was just pretty. It's nice to look at. As far as like the colorations and stuff, it don't look like a soap opera that they shot with iPhone. It's just like it's such a good show, and the writing is good. But yeah, All American, watch it. Definitely, the first season is on Netflix. Everything else you can watch it on demand. CW season 2.
Dope. So actually, yeah, I mentioned to you I watched the first season. I didn't go back for the second season, so I have like the CW app. I think I can watch it on there. I don't know. I'll figure it out. Yeah, I think I can. So I'll get into it. Well, this week I'm actually going to do a quick toast to Jordin Sparks. Jordin Sparks has sparked. Ha ha ha. Y'all like how
look how you did
that. Yeah. Has sparked a lot of conversation surrounding her. I think it's her husband. There was a photo that was posted out with him and a young lady, and I think he was out with like some friends from high school. It's kind of like a reunion thing. And so he made a post basically saying like, you know, not many people get me to come out, et cetera, and have a good time on whatever night, et cetera. And, you know, the internet went ablaze, and, what he says, not very many people can, 1, get me out of the house past 10:30, 2, get me to smile this big, 3, have me talking about high school, shout out to a real one. And it was a photo of him and some girl that he went to high school with. So, of course, the internet went crazy and is like, hey, you know, where's Jordin Sparks? It's your wife. You shouldn't be posting photos of you and some other woman, basically saying what this woman can get you to do, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And in response, Jordin released a statement, released a comment. She posted on the picture with a comment basically saying that he should be able to have his friends and engage his friends, and his friend, that friendship was there long before she was, and you know, the girl's a good person, et cetera, et cetera. So essentially she got to this point of, hey, you know, it's actually quite toxic to expect your man to not to lose his friendships and not to have friendships with other women. And we've talked about this all the time. And we talk about, you know, the time changing and us living in a society and a culture where, you know, it's just, there's a lot more opportunities. We're kind of more on the same playing field. Sometimes you can work in, depending on the industry you work in, you can work in a field where it is nothing but primarily the opposite sex, or there's a lot of the opposite sex, and you should not be expected to just kind of shy away from them or not engage them or not build a friendship. And because somebody doesn't think that it could just be a platonic friendship. So I just want to shout out to Jordin Sparks for truly standing up for being a progressive lady and saying that, hey, you know, I'm secure in my relationship. I'm secure in what I have. And I also have, you know, a rapport and history and understanding of this person. So I'm not threatened by it. Let's move on. I think it's sad that we have to have these conversations because something that seems very obvious today. But toast to Jordin Sparks for being the person to put it out there and cause some conversation. And hopefully some people can walk away with at least an understanding of another perspective.
Yes. And I think that's very important as a person who has male friends, and it's necessary for my field. I appreciate the women that understand.
Right.
And I just don't fool with those who don't. That's just been my, I don't got time to convince you, and I'm not going to fight you over it.
Right.
Because I don't need the drama in my life. Can't
be mad at that.
We're going to leave y'all with today's good vibe. Today's good vibe is, I didn't even clear this with Randall first, so I hope you like it, Randall.
Okay, it's fine.
First rule of family gatherings, always bring your own vehicle so you can leave when you want.
I love it. I think important. I posted that.
Yeah, that's why I got it from you.
Yeah, I was
supposed to say Insta story, and
it's amazing. That's it.
I think it's so relevant for Thanksgiving. Do not get trapped because you may get triggered. So
absolutely,
get triggered.
Have your car.
Get in your car and go.
Get in your car. Turn the ignition. Get out of there now.
You may get triggered, but you don't have to be trapped. Take your own car.
Hey, I like that. You may be triggered, but you don't got to be trapped. I love it.
So, yeah. Well, thank y'all for listening to another episode of Brunch Culture. We are so glad that you tune in to hear us whenever there's an episode. Yes. Remember, you can catch all the past episodes at brunchculturebc.com. You can subscribe on everywhere podcasts are except Tidal. We'll get on there one day. And I'm about to say, remember here at Brunch Culture. First, before we do that, follow us on Facebook at Brunch Culture, on Twitter at Brunch Culture, on Instagram at Brunch_Culture.
There we go. Got it.
Whew, got it. Remember here at Brunch Culture, everything is up for discussion.